Love and happiness. But wait a minute, something going wrong. Someone's on the phone, 3 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, talking about.
Boy James Terrell, we out here at the crib right now with my boy Nick, getting cleaned up, you know what I'm saying, for the new year. I'm about to answer some good questions for y'all too, so stay tuned, stay tuned. So I grew up in Vallejo, California, started playing ball at 6 at Wilson Park, met a lot of good people over there. After that, started playing travel ball at 12 in Livermore with the NorCal Grizzlies. Met a lot of good coaches that I still teach some of their teachings now to this day. You know, when I do have lessons or whatever. After 2 years with the Grizzlies, I was blessed to try out for the USA team. Did pretty good at that. Got all the way to the end in North Carolina. Didn't end up making the team. Cried in my mom's lap. Like it was one of those things. But I would say that exact moment changed my career. Because that's when I knew that I had to implement grind times 10. There wasn't kids that were that much better than me, but I just knew that the difference between me and them wasn't that much, and I knew I had to work harder to make that difference, or that gap, way bigger. After that, it was my freshman year at St. Pat's, and my goal was to make the varsity team. I knew I was going to make the varsity team because my dad was the coach, but I was way past making the varsity team. It was more so, I can't let my dad down. My senior year, in the beginning of my senior year, I signed officially to Fresno State, but I had the intention of getting drafted. I knew what I had to do to get drafted. I was mapping out the stats of other kids who got drafted out of high school the years before me, such as like Derek Hill, BJ Boyd, and etc. And I noticed that for the most part they hit close to 500, and I knew that I had to do that. So that I told myself that for the whole off season and just all that grind leading up to the season. It was all about hitting 500, hitting 500. Long story short, I ended up hitting 508 with 4 home runs again, and I ended up getting drafted in the 11th round for 6 figgies. Now, I mentioned the 6 figgies not to be cocky, but just to bring awareness to like when you're that young and you get that much money, you know, that comes with a lot of things, you know, both positive and negative. Positive with just knowing that hard work does pay off. I'd say that's the biggest thing. But negative is just everybody else around you, your circle. You know, you know how much money you made, but and you might tell them, but to them, it's unlimited money, especially when you're coming out of high school. So my experience in the minor leagues was, I'd say it taught me so much. Like I had to grow up quick. I always tell people I skipped 21, 22, 23, and right when I got drafted, within a month I went from 18 to 25. Just because of just the lifestyle and the grind. I mean, the only difference between high school and the minor leagues for me was just that it was every day. Every day we had practice, every day we had a game. I mean, I worked out all the time, every day, I worked on my craft, but it wasn't like practice where it's like almost like a showcase every day. You got this guy you gotta impress, and this guy you gotta impress. It's just way different. So every day is something new, and you gotta be on top of your game every day. So coming from a 24 game season to I don't know, like 60 games in 3 months is a little different, you know. especially when it's not tournament style. It's just every day, every day, every day. One of the main things that I wish I would have had more of when I was playing was just discipline. Knowing that, you know, whatever I was doing will always be there, and I got to take care of what I got to take care of right now. For example, say we have to go to the field at like 8. Why don't I get up at 5? You know what I mean, and do the same thing I was doing in high school. Get in that cage at 6 a.m. But when you're in Vermont or something like that, and you're limited to resources with like driving, you have to wait for somebody else, or you just don't really have the money for Uber. It kind of makes it a little hard. So, you know, trying to find out what you could do to get that edge, you know, to deepen that gap, like I mentioned before, between us versus you versus them, is it's kind of hard to find in the minor leagues. But there's absolutely no excuse as of like why you can't do that and why you can't get that edge. Whether it's getting an extra hitting in between games, in between your practice and your game, there's always a way. And I guess I could say that's the only regret I have, is like, oh, I don't have this. Like using my not having the resources as an excuse to not get better. That's the only regret I have. But other than that, I had a great career. I met a lot of people. Like I said, I had to grow up fast, and I just learned a lot of life lessons that have made me for sure who I am today. After 3 years, I got released, and I just knew for some reason I had a different reaction than I thought I'd have. I didn't cry like I did when I was 14, and it was just more so of a feeling of like, what am I gonna do now, rather than like, I'm going to make it. And that's when I kind of knew that my love for the game has kind of faded away. Just like anything, you know, too much of anything could kind of you know, deteriorate your love for something, or it would just kind of like, I don't know, you kind of take it for granted in a sense. And I could say that sometimes I would take my days for granted there. I always thought like tomorrow is promised when it definitely is not. So that is a key right there. And just if you get your dream taken away from you, it's not the end of the world. You still got to keep on going. I mean, everything and everyone in your life is a season, and what could you learn from everyone and everything that God puts in front of you? And I just learned from my experiences, and then put it into my next career, which is acting and modeling. So I moved out to LA. I live in Burbank right now, and really trying to get on that grind of becoming just as good as a actor as I was like a baseball player, I guess you could say. Like, I'm trying to implement that grind to acting, and I feel like that's gonna be my edge, because in acting, they always say you're gonna be told no more than you're gonna be told yes. So you could get 10 no's, or you could get 9 no's, but that one yes could set up your career. And I feel like it's the same for baseball. Like, you get 3 hits out of 10, you're considered one of the best. And so I feel like that's my advantage for acting, is that I'm not afraid of no. If anything, no is more of like a yes to me, because it's gonna teach me something. It's gonna teach me, all right, what did I do wrong? What can I improve? And that's how you have to think of failure. So there's no such thing as L's or losses. Like, I truly don't believe in losses or failures or anything like that, because every moment, win or lose, is a teaching moment. And that's how I think about life. It's a way easier way of thinking of life, because you're less stressed. Things don't go your way. It's kind of like, whatever, on to the next, or I need to do something to make myself better, so that the next time it's a yes and not a no. for sure, one is my ability to adapt in any environment. I mean, I could talk to the guys in the hood, or I could talk to the president of the United States. It don't really matter, and I'll be comfortable in both environments. I feel like that's a lot of kids our age and younger struggle with that, with just speaking up for yourself and just opening your mouth and just not caring what people have to say about your opinions. It's your opinion. Like, you could only do you like you. No one could do that better than you. So if it's your opinion, you're pretty much right until proven wrong in your mind. So definitely just that, being adaptable to every environment. And one thing my dad would always tell me is closed mouths don't get fed. So if you're over there in the corner hella quiet, don't expect anything to fall in your lap, because you're over there not asking for what you want, or you're not going for what you want. You're over there in the corner on hush mode. Can't do it. Let's see, another thing. I don't know, people say that I'll be on wave, you know what I mean? Like, they say I got swag, but really, I just be wearing a white tee, black tee, gray tee with some nice pants, nice shoes, and I just put whatever I'm feeling for that day, that's what I'll put on. And apparently it just looks good to y'all, so, I guess I'll take that. It's just doing what you want, taking advantage of your time that you do have on this earth, because you only got one life. And so, me personally, I don't want to live that one life behind in a cubicle, trying to make someone else's dreams come true. That's just not my style. I'd rather be spending hours and hours and mastering my craft, putting in that 10,000 hours to make my dreams come true rather than someone else's. So, I mean, I just think, obviously I'm not bashing that lifestyle of, working for someone, getting a good job, because if that makes you happy, then you are doing what you want to do. But for me personally, I can't do that. I got to get on my grind. Shout out to everybody who took the time out of their day to watch this. Shout out my boy Nick for giving me the feature on here. Really appreciate that. Shout out Consistent. What y'all are doing, and the messages that are getting across to people, I think will really help the future, the youth, and some just people in need of that extra, information or education on how to live your life. So what y'all are doing here is definitely awesome. Shout out to the fam. Shout out to my boy Dev. Shout out my boy Josh, Mark, Marcus, Five, John, Nick again, David, Chris, all of these, all the homies. Shout out to y'all, because, like I mentioned before, when I felt like I was down in released, and just when I was down, I guess you could say, like I said before, I looked behind me, and I looked behind me and looked beside me, and all these homies were still there for me. It was no switch up. So, I appreciate y'all. Love y'all, for real. Yeah. Thanks for watching. Make sure you comment on this fresh cut. You know what I'm saying? Comment, and I don't know. Let's start some conversations. I'll be active in the comments. Don't say nothing stupid. But nah, for real, thank y'all for watching, and I hope y'all enjoy.